Billy, who is Morgan Myles?
Morgan Myles is a woman who's been doing just about everything a singer and a songwriter should do to make it in this town since at least 2015. She's written beautiful, personal ballads and playful R&B-inspired love songs.
I'm singing a cappella. Me, myself, and I.
She sings like, listen, this is cliche, but if Chris Stapleton were a woman, she'd have to compete with Morgan Myles because the girl is already doing that thing. I'm going to ask you to cue up a song called Silence from her 2020 Therapy album to help make my point here, because I think above everything, Morgan Myles is a fighter.
Okay, I see an acoustic version of the song with over 2,000 views, but you want the original version, so here is the first chorus of Silence by Morgan Myles.
Why even say a word at all? If I did, you make me feel so small. So quietly I make you fall. I could scream and keep on kicking.
That song kills me. Partly because I know the story of it better than most, and I have to be a little careful here not to share what I've been told in confidence, but a British website called Lyric Magazine tells it pretty well, so I'm going to source them. Morgan wrote this song after her manager at the time demanded that she put certain songs on her EP. He didn't want her opinion at all. It's a lyric that speaks to anyone who's been in an abusive relationship, and you really hear it. Ironically, it was her silence and a song called Silence that got her out of that relationship with her manager.
Listen, I could try to play pretend and say that I don't care.
I'm Adison Haager, and Morgan is now a finalist on NBC's The Voice. Give a thumbs up if you're a fan, and go on and cheer her on in the comments, and consider subscribing for original country music analysis. We've learned a little bit about the death of a cousin that really hit Morgan hard, but with so many contestants, we've really not had a chance to get to know her on a personal level. Where did she come from?
Morgan is from Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and growing up, she sang and she did musicals and she tried to find opportunities in New York City. She actually said that growing up she sort of hid from her voice for a while. Way back in 2015, she told me that she once auditioned for the girl group 3LW. Obviously, that didn't work out. In the early 2000s, she was at Berkeley, but then she started to attend Belmont University as a singer who was really inspired by powerful female vocalists.
I'm thinking Whitney, Faith Hill, Martina McBride. I noticed that when Taste of Country named her an artist to watch in 2016, she called Sheryl Crow an influence. What held her back?
In some ways, it was just being first. She didn't have the roads paved for her, so she had to figure out the business of the music business. That experience with the manager I described was not her first with a bad actor. She'd been hurt before. And then there were some personal trials. This part might break your heart. For about 6 years, she nannied 2 children as their mother was dying of ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease. After that, she'd become a guardian to those children. They called her Miss Morgan Myles, which is what she named her first EP.
This quote gets me. She says, quote, "And their mom was the one person to say, please never give up your dream. I'm 45 and I never wrote that book I wanted to write."
I'm actually going to link to the articles at Lyrics Magazine, The Boot, and Taste of Country, and they all tell that story a little bit better with a little bit more detail. I'll also link to some of the music videos that we're recalling from Morgan. You can check those out in the description section.
That article at The Boot also describes several more personal losses, including the death of her grandfather to brain cancer and her cousin in 2018 to the same kind of cancer at the age of 33.
Morgan and her cousin Mac were really close. I remember being at a music preview party in Nashville where she became really emotional talking about it. This was just weeks or months later. The dark part of that event is that it was a showcase of her music with a record label, but the relationship went south for reasons I've never really understood, so her music was delayed again. I actually have a copy of an unreleased Morgan Myles album that I go back to from time to time. It's really good. And cue up the clip from a song called Sanctuary that would actually make her therapy album. If I listen to this song with anyone else but my wife, it might lead to a divorce.
Billy, you mentioned Chris Stapleton. Is he an influence?
Yes. She once called her music soul country and told me that the night that he performed with Justin Timberlake at the CMA Awards, she was in tears. Quote, I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Everyone is digging this soul country sound. It's just that country music has come into that sound. That's where I've lived for so long.
We're of course talking about Morgan Myles, as she's now a finalist on The Voice, and recently she went back to her roots.
Honey, I stay strong on your love all the time.
That performance came after songs by Patty Griffin, Miley Cyrus, Beyonce, and Hallelujah.
I think it's clear she's trying to be more than just a country singer now, which, who can blame her? I mean, Meg Lindsay from a country duo called Steel Magnolia did the same thing when she was on The Voice about 7 years ago. I think she finished second. What separates Morgan is her ability to perform and her stage experience. She did the festival circuit in a band with a bunch of stinky men for years. These are shows in dusty towns like Grand Junction, Colorado, where she was maybe making enough money to get to the next town. So often reality stars don't have that grit, but Morgan Myles truly does.
Do you think Morgan Myles can win The Voice?
Well, I think she's already won because this platform is gonna elevate her profile. And if you follow her on social media, you'll see that she's doing all the work necessary to make sure that fans of her on the show become fans of her in real life. I don't know if she'll win. She's worthy, but in some ways I hope that she finishes second because winners tend to get stuck in really crappy record deals, and she does not need that again.
I'm Adison Haager. Please consider subscribing before you hop out, and be sure to hit the description for more important links and songs like Sanctuary and Silence. As always, thank you so very much for watching.